Good evening. We start tonight with a fundraising cycle ride which has ended in disaster. James Golding organised a ride across America with his friend Sean Newman to give something back to the charities that helped him with his battle with cancer.
Tonight, Sean is seriously ill in hospital with a broken pelvis and legs after being hit by a truck travelling at 70 miles per hour. He faces further surgery. This afternoon, James arrived home to Rugby. Charlotte Grant's report does contain pictures of his injuries.
Returning home bruised and battered but alive, it's the second time James Golding's cheated death. With his friend Sean Newman, James was on a charity cycle ride across America, raising thousands of pounds and celebrating life after cancer. But the pair were more than halfway through their trip when they were hit by a truck.
I just remember hearing a really loud crash. Sean screamed, but it was almost like the wind had been taken out of him as he was screaming. And literally before I'd even got to even twitch to turn my head round, we were both sliding down the road. I could hear people running and people shouting, and somebody ran over, and the first thing I heard was, "This one's dead." And then a lady appeared and I could hear her voice, and she said, "No, he's not dead, he's breathing, he's here." Sean is obviously in a far, far worse state. Broken leg, pelvis, broken eye socket. Sean's a fighter though. His stubbornness, as I've already mentioned, will get him through this.
This is all that's left of Sean's bike.
I don't think you could actually make a bike look this bad if you wanted to try and smash a carbon frame up. You'd struggle to get it looking anything like this. Top tube snapped, chainstay snapped, handlebars snapped. This bike shouldn't look like this.
It's hard to believe this is James 2 years ago. He was given a less than 10% chance of survival, but he defied his doctors and the disease. As Sean undergoes more surgery in America, James is determined their trip won't be in vain. He wants to go back and finish the ride, to do it for Sean and to raise the full £100,000 for charity.
Cancer is something which I have got the all clear from now, but will have to live with for the rest of my life. Every ache, every pain, is it back? When I'm laying in hospital or on that grass verge unable to walk, and I'm thinking, I'm going to have to learn to walk again. That'll be twice since 28 that I've had to learn how to walk. But you can't let it get you down. You have to push on.
Now, 3 weeks after being hit by a truck in America, cyclist Sean Newman has returned home to the Midlands.
Yes, he was cycling across the states to raise thousands of pounds for charity with his friend and cancer survivor James Golding. And today was the first time the pair had been reunited since the accident. Charlotte Grant reports.
This was how it was supposed to be, a challenge of a lifetime cycling across America for charity. But it came to an abrupt end. This is Sean Newman 3 weeks after being hit by a truck at 70 miles an hour. A back brace and few scars, the only visible legacy of the ordeal. But after weeks in intensive care in America, he's finally home and reunited with the man who was cycling by his side when the truck hit. It's the first time they've seen each other since it happened.
See you later.
You too?
Oh, how you feeling?
I'm alright, better than you.
Good. It's good to be home, good to be back. Great to see James. There's no place like home, really.
It's good to have him back in one piece, although it might be several different pieces combining into one at the moment.
The many pieces of Sean's pelvis had to be pinned together. The truck may have broken his back and legs, but not his spirit. Luckily, he remembers nothing of the accident, only what people have told him.
They just saw this almighty explosion of debris and stuff going all over the place, and my body being launched about 10 foot up into the air. They came over and thought I was dead, but managed to start breathing later on, so thankfully I'm still here to tell the tale.
They were in America because 2 years ago James made a miraculous recovery from cancer, and they wanted to give something back to the charities that helped him pull through. Together they've had their fair share of lucky escapes. Now they just want to focus on fully recovering from the accident and still reaching their fundraising target of £100,000. Charlotte Grant for Central Tonight.
a remarkable story of determination against the toughest odds. We first met James Golding in July last year when he was involved in a terrible accident while on a charity cycle ride across America.
As James had already nearly died once from an aggressive tumour, and the injuries from the road accident cut short his sponsored ride. But now, 6 months to the day of that crash, he's doing it all again. He told Wesley Smith just why.
I'm still meant to be here, really. It's probably one of the main factors, because if I wasn't, then I think we could safely say that I wouldn't be. And you look at life differently. You know, most people moan about Monday mornings. I love Monday mornings. Monday morning means I've made it through another week.
James Golding's reserves of courage and determination know no bounds. This is all that remained of the bike that he was riding across the States when he and a companion were struck by a lorry at 70 miles an hour.
I broke 4 ribs, 5 stitches, and as described by a number of people, had more skin missing than they've ever seen.
But James, from Rugby, is no stranger to picking himself up after a major setback. He's a cancer patient and nearly died during treatment for an 11-centimetre long tumour between his spine and bowel. He survived and raised £73,000 for a cancer charity as a thank you and inspiration to others.
When you set yourself a goal that you want to achieve, there's times that we get knocked back and times that we don't get there first time round. But you have to keep going. I've told people they need to focus on what they want to achieve and push forward to doing it, and keep going no matter what, and that's what I'm doing.
So it's back to Los Angeles to start the gruelling 3,000-mile trip to Miami. Sean, who was injured along with James, is now living in the States and preparing for the LA Marathon. So this time James will be joined by another friend who'll drive across in a camper van for accommodation. 120 miles a day is the target. What will be James's greatest challenge?
Riding down the same bit of road that the accident happened on. I think that will probably be I don't know how I'll feel about it until I get there, but I think that will probably be the most anticipation that I'll go through on the ride, really. As long as I get through Louisiana, then I've done better than I did last time.
And as if this latest challenge isn't enough, James is now planning an even bigger one in Mexico. And to make sure he continues to focus on inspiring other cancer patients build a fulfilling future.
I don't want it to just be about cancer necessarily, although that's my story. I want to try and focus a little bit more on recovery and how amazing it can be. No matter how great your recovery or how small it might be, recovery in any way is something quite special.
We've been following the story of James Golding, a cancer survivor who was involved in a terrible accident while on a charity cycle ride across America.
Well, 6 months on since the crash, James has been at it again. He went back to America last month. He's just returned home, having finally completed the cycle ride. Charlotte Grant reports.
What a difference 6 months makes. This was all that was left of James Golding's bike after he was hit by a lorry at 70 miles an hour. But it was the second time he'd cheated death. 2 years ago, James survived an 11-centimetre tumour between his spine and bowel. So to thank those that helped him recover, James decided to cycle across America to raise money for charity.
I fully intended on riding across America, and that was what I did. If I'd have gone back and just finished the ride, I still wouldn't have ridden across America, or I'd have ridden across America in 2 sections. So I had to go back and I had to do it from the start.
So that's exactly what James did, cycling 3,500 miles from Los Angeles to Miami. It was the second time in his life James had to learn how to walk and cycle again. Averaging 145 miles a day, one of the hardest parts was returning to the same stretch of road where he nearly lost his life.
It all kind of came back to me as I was riding along it, although it had been very apprehensive and quite tense. But everything fell into place quite nicely after that, and it was almost as if a major weight had been lifted, and after that moment I was flying.
This was a very personal mission for James. Recovering from cancer and from the crash was the driving force behind going back and finally finishing the ride.
This is my therapy. The nightmares go away, the anxiety just goes straight out the window as soon as I hear those pedals click. The world just opens, and I know that's me.
Now James is back, his spirit's even stronger. He's already planning another, even bigger trip. Charlotte Grant in Rugby for Central Tonight.